Okay. Okay, so we're gonna be going over perimeter, perimeters, and areas of polygons. And let's get started. So with the first one, we're going to start with a triangle. Well, let's back up a bit. So what is the perimeter polygon? So the perimeter of a polygon is the distance around the outside of the polygon. So usually after we talk usually we talk about polygons, we're talking about more than 3 sides. So a triangle has 3 sides, and polygons will have bridges in more than 4. Four, we'll say 4. So when we talk about perimeters, right? So this is getting a little ahead of the topic. So P for perimeter, and this is area. So when we talk about perimeter, we're only looking at the outside. So when we talk about perimeter, just think of it in terms of like the fence. Like that's all you're measuring. It's just like how far along across a boundary are you measuring. So just think of it in terms like a fence. And the area is you have the boundaries, but you're trying to measure what the boundary internally encompasses. So areas are usually, when you see some type of area, they're talking about like what's all within this boundary. And perimeters, we're talking about just the outside. So we can clear this out. So there's 2D, and then 3D. So when we talk about 3D, and these are shapes, 2D shapes and 3D shapes, right? So 3D shapes are like your spheres, basketballs, your cubes, and so forth. 2D shapes are like your circle, your triangle. So it's a slice of the 3D shapes. So polygons are 2-dimensional objects. Now, 2-dimensional objects, what do they have? So let me draw a 3D object. So with 3D object, we have the length, which is how long it is, the height, which is how tall it is, and then this little area right here, and that area is the width, how wide it is. Now when we draw a polygon, right, so we tend to draw it like this. So you might think, okay, this is the height, and this is the width or length. And it can get confused, but what you have to remember is polygons are 2D. So when we draw it like this, we're drawing it like this so you can understand it, but really, just think of it like, okay, so here's here's a little table, and the polygon is basically just kind of lying flat on the table, right? Flat, like a piece of paper. So really, we know how long it is and how wide it is, right? But we don't know how tall it is, or the height. So the height is what's missing. So now since that's out of the way, so the polygon is 2D. So what would that make the perimeter? Well, the perimeter would be one dimension. And why is it one dimension? It's just a line. So 1D is a line and 2D is the polygon, right? This. So what we're just doing is we're just saying line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, but we're not saying that the perimeter is 2D. It's not 2D. You're measuring the distance of each line segment, each component. So each line segment. That's why it's 1D. So again, think of it in terms of a fence, and if we think of it in terms of a fence, well, how much fence is needed to enclose the yard? So, for instance, it's a good problem. So we talked about polygons, but this applies to any two-dimensional objects, and so we have a triangle, right? So let's just say we have, a 9, a 5, an 11, and then a 5. We'll say 5 meters. Meters. So what is the perimeter of the triangle? Well, it's simple. We're just summing it up. So we're saying, okay, the length and distance here is 9, right? And we're going to add that to 11, so we get 20. And then we're going to add that to 5. So we get 25 meters is the perimeter. Okay, let's try another one. So we're having a rectangle. So we'll say this is 4 meters. And we'll say this is double that, 8 meters. So, what is this side and what is this side? Well, so you have to know, if we say a rectangle, we know that the sides are all 90 degrees, and we should know that one side is equal to the other side. And then if you're familiar with geometry and proofs, so we know that this side's 4 meters and this side is 8 meters. So the name of the polygon will give you the properties. If it just says polygon, if I didn't tell you this is a rectangle, what's the polygon for, right? The polygon is 4, 8 meters. What is the perimeter of the polygon? And I did not tell you this is a rectangle at all. I just said it's polygon. Well, now you would have you would have some you would not know how to do this. This would be a much harder problem because one, you don't know what the angle of this is, right? You just don't sub that. So I would need to give you a whole lot more information, and based on information, you would have to do some equation solving, and you might get this side to be 3, this side to be 10.5. It doesn't have to be that. It can even be 7. So it's it's more involved. So I told you this was a rectangle. So now you know that this is simply just a summation. But since we know this is a rectangle, right, we can easily solve for the perimeter. So we know that side 1 is 4, side 2 is 8, so 2 sides is 12. We have another 2 sides with the same dimensions, so we just multiply it by 12 and get 24, right? And you could see, if I just added it, it would be from here to here is 12, from here to here, so we got 12 plus 4 is 16, 16 plus 4 is, plus 8 is 24. So we got the same answer. And a much easier one is if I give you a square, right? A square, and I say this is 5. Well, you already know that this is a special polygon, right? So say find the perimeter. Well, each side is the same, 5, 5, 5. So, you can just add them up, or you can just say, well, since one side is 5, I know the other 4 sides are equal. And so since there's 4 sides, I can say 5 times 4 is 20. Well, this is still in meters. So 20 meters, right? Same thing, I could go draw a triangle, make that 5, and say this is equilateral. And then this should automatically tell you that all the sides are the same. So again, you just add them up, or you can say 5 times 3 is 15. And again, this is meters. So 15 meters. Oops. So yeah, that's basically it with the perimeters. In the next lesson or another lessons, whatever you like, I could talk about the area, because a lot of people have trouble with area. It's really interesting how people confuse the concept between the area and the perimeter. But if you remember, perimeter equals fence. Right, then it shouldn't be hard, because when you're looking at the area, right, you're looking at the within the excuse me, within the enclosing.